All right. Believe it or not, whether you want to believe it or not, this is WV football going deep. I am Forrest Poston. It got up to about 99 where we live today, and the air conditioner's not keeping up, and I've had to be outside. I am sweaty, and luckily for you, you have to see how scruffy I look, but you don't have to smell how badly I smell. I can smell it. You smell yourself, you know it's a problem. Anyway, that does not matter for tonight's discussion as to whether or not there is anyone here watching. Hey, says there's one waiting. You shouldn't be waiting. You should be here. Uh, I know it takes a little while for people to kind of come strolling in, find their seat, and get ready. Then, of course, you got to go get your snacks, enjoy the entertainment, or hope that there is entertainment to enjoy. Going to be talking, obviously, about the Penn State West Virginia game. Going to be talking about the game, going to be talking about what people are saying about the game, what they're not saying about the game, uh, what's changed, what hasn't changed, what I think might happen. And if you get involved, we'll talk about what you think might happen, what we hope will happen, and maybe some about what we're afraid will happen or worried will happen. That has been a popular subject of late. Now, actually, the last maybe say 3 or 4 days, I have seen the West Virginia media starting to get more positive. It's almost scary. Some of these people are not known for being all that optimistic. But they have, some of them have managed to shift back around and about and keep focusing on either the negatives or the potential negatives or the unknowns that might become negatives. I don't think anybody really wants to be too optimistic and then either get caught or be blamed for putting a curse on the whole thing. But hey, you know me. I'm going to be positive. I'm going to be optimistic. Uh, I was optimistic last year. Turned out I was right. I'm more optimistic this year. And I predict that it will turn out I'm right. People make a big deal out of the fact that you don't know something until it happens. Well, of course, that's so obvious, I get tired of hearing it. And the truth is, we really don't know something even after it happens because we are subjective creatures. But that's a philosophy class, and most of you don't want to go too deep into that. Distracts from the football anyway. But I believe it's going to be a big season. Uh, I did not get to watch all. I mean, because we've got swamped with game predictions and game stories this week. Not surprisingly, I have not watched all of them. Some of them I watched the whole thing. Some of them I have watched part of it. Uh, some I didn't have time to get to. Some I watched part of and didn't want to waste time finishing. Uh, well, those were mostly either the national media or Penn State media. Uh, most of them are saying the same things. But a few, I mean, national media as well as the state media has, some of them have become more positive. Of course, PFF has really liked West Virginia for a year and adores Garrett Green. And as well they should, because their statistics, the type that they particularly use, green looks very good. So it wouldn't make sense if they didn't like green. Let's see. Uh, hey, it's M1963. I do appreciate that. Uh, Now you will notice the way I have to set things up right now. I can watch the camera, or I can watch the comments. So I'm going to pay attention to what you folks are asking. Uh, you'll get my profile, which is probably no better, no worse than seeing me straight on. Will the heat be a factor? Last I heard, they were thinking, somebody said that the long-term prediction was that the weather was going to be about 10 degrees cooler on Saturday than on Friday. Now that's still plenty hot, and down on the field it will be very hot. In the past several years, over a decade, 15 years, West Virginia has had starters that are very good. Now that wasn't really completely true when Neil Brown took over, but most years West Virginia has had starting players who can hang with almost any team. Second, you know, you know, you get down to number 2 on the depth chart and it became a problem. Get down to number 3 and we were screwed. This year, 2 deep is very good. There aren't really that many real questions on the 2 deep. The 3 deep, we start to look kind of young, or maybe have a drop off on talent. So there, you get into questions. And we are going to need, particularly like on defensive line, we're going to need the 3 deep players to give us about 10 plays apiece. And if they can do that, the heat will not be a factor. We've got 2 deep in the defensive backfield. We've got 2 deep at linebacker. Yeah. We don't necessarily have a full 2 deep on the offensive line, but most of the guys we can rotate. Definitely much better than we did last year. 2 deep at quarterback. Currently, at least 3 deep at running back. I don't think the freshmen are going to be ready to play this week. Maybe a little. Wide receiver we can rotate. So we should be able to hold up with the heat pretty nearly as well as Penn State can. And of course, I mean, Coach Brown has pushed conditioning. He's made practices hard. He has tried to get the guys ready so that the heat won't be a factor. Yeah, I'd actually forgotten about the McAfee show being in town. I was thinking, why are they worried about traffic on Friday? Yeah, you're right. Um, some people think shutting the school down is an overreaction. Um, well, I'll tell you, I mean, given the number of days I missed in school anyway, for legitimate or not so legitimate reasons, uh, if they close school, it makes me happy. I mean, not that I was a bad student. The problem was I was a good student and I was just so freaking bored. But yeah, yeah, I mean, closing school due to the football team has not exactly been common. I assume, Jupiter Mojo, that you mean 40% chance of winning. I'd say it's at least that. Uh, if West Virginia is as good as I think they are. And if it can come together uh, in the first game, I would put West Virginia as the favorite. I think the team and the coaching are better. Now, why? Penn State, everybody says Penn State has better talent, and that's likely true. There will be more NFL players off of the Penn State team than there are off of the West Virginia team. But talent doesn't win games. Talent doesn't win games because you can beat talent with a combination of technique and effort. I didn't get to do a video on this week's interviews, but Jaquay Hubbard, man, I love watching him, and watching him this week, I think he's going to have a good season. But he was asked about getting to the second level to block their Mike linebacker, and he said, well, he's faster than I am. But angles beat speed. And that's the thing. If Hubbard plays his blocking angle correctly, that negates the speed advantage. And of course, a linebacker is supposed to have a speed advantage over an offensive lineman. But if you know and apply technique, you can beat talent if the talent has not been properly developed. Now, if you take a player who is more talented and that player works just as hard as the less talented player and learns as well, applies what they learn well, then the more talented player wins. But talent on its own doesn't win football games. Of course, okay, limits to that. West Virginia, will beat Albany because the talent differential is just too big. But Albany can make it a game if they use better technique than West Virginia does. Of course, West Virginia has coaches who teach good technique, and they teach it well. We haven't seen that as much as we'd like for other reasons, but it was showing last year, it's showing this year. And I'm not convinced that Penn State players have better technique than West Virginia players. So I give West Virginia a potential advantage. And that's going to really screw with some people's minds. Oh, heaven. Well, I mean, this early in the season, yeah, look at the Florida State-Georgia Tech game. Look 2 years ago at the West Virginia-Kansas game. You can't scout properly for the first game. Especially, you'll come at Penn State, all three coordinators are new. We know what they've done in the past. We can expect them to do something similar now. How similar? How different? How well will Penn State apply the new coaching? We don't know. Neil Brown press conference, he said, hey, we haven't had all those changes, but we'll also be different. You can't be the same team year to year. You can have the same basic principles and philosophy, but you have to make it look different. And I would say in certain aspects it has to be different. They'll have new plays. They'll have new variations on plays. The defense has made slight adjustments. People say they've gone from a 4-3 to a 3-4. That's technically not true. but there are differences in the defensive alignment, the defensive philosophy, and the personnel. The personnel will allow some things the coaches have always wanted to do and couldn't. And you can't scout for that at this point. So, yeah, surprises, yeah, gonna happen. Gonna happen. No two ways about it. Yeah, well, I'm not going to give you the answer that I want to give. No, I mean, okay, WV, you play 3 out of 5 times, or you play 5 times, and West Virginia is playing Ohio State or Michigan, will probably lose 4 of them, maybe 3 of them. Yeah. But just, well, for one thing, just because Ohio State and Michigan are the only 2 teams to beat them doesn't mean you have to be in that class. And don't forget that Michigan had the most running yards against Penn State last year of anybody. Second most was West Virginia. And West Virginia didn't have a guy named Jaheim White playing in the backfield. C.J. Donaldson wasn't fully healthy. We have a significantly, massively better backfield than the one that put up 146 yards against Penn State last year. We might top 200. We might. And if we do, the West Virginia winning percentage is pretty dang high. Yes. Yeah, Coach Brown talked a bit about that in the press conference too. He said partly, he said that sort of thing happens a lot with, especially when the home team is the underdog. You start getting a shift around this time. I don't bet. I'm not sure I would if I had the money. But yeah, the odds were too high to begin with. And his word did kind of start getting out. People started paying attention to some of what West Virginia has done well. There's a good reason for that to go down. Speaking, I mentioned Jaheim White. Let me post a link here in the comments. Um, let's see here. Oh, come on. There we go. There was an AP story about Jaheim White. And man, I don't know why this story hasn't come out before. I mean, it is about his pre-high school and high school days, moving from Florida to Pennsylvania, New Jersey. It is a marvelous story. Tells you a lot about Jaheim White. It really gives insight and really makes you like him a lot more. I do suggest you go read it after the show. I can't afford to have a bunch of people heading out just right now, but definitely a good read. Yeah, and by the way, thanks for everybody who has shown up. Um, we got more people in here earlier than usual. I'm not sure just why that is, but I do appreciate it. Going to post another little thing here, and YouTube might get mad at me for this, but I'm going to paste it anyway, and you can ignore it if you want. Oh, hey, I forgot. I want to put that AP link up on the. There we go. Looks like you'll have to copy and paste. It didn't form an actual link, but I figure you guys can work that out. Watching I mean, I watched PFF and I watched the On Three and maybe one or two other shows. Now, PFF kind of likes West Virginia. They give them a chance, but they were still talking about the receivers having trouble with press coverage last year. The problem is they didn't ask why. Why did they have trouble with press coverage last year? Now against Penn State, I mean, we had Aaron and Graham as the two main receivers, and well, they just didn't pan out. I don't know exactly why they had trouble with press coverage, but for most of the year, the reason was we had receivers who were either skinny freshmen or a skinny redshirt freshman. And you put these guys up against the average person and they look big and muscular. But you put them up against a junior corner and that changes. You're maybe talking 20, 30-pound difference, but you're talking a real big muscle difference. And the coaches have talked about this. I mean, these guys have put on weight, they put on muscle, they put on confidence and experience. And Belial Marshall made it clear. He said, hey, you want to press us? Bring it on. And I've said a couple of times this, off season already, that's got to be the theme for the team this year. Bring it on. You say that the schedule is tough, bring it on. Press coverage, blitzing, whatever, bring it on. This team is not afraid. You can play up Penn State all you want, and maybe they deserve every bit of it. But West Virginia is not coming into this game afraid. They are going to bring it. They're going to expect Penn State to bring it. And that's the way we all want it to be. Give us your best, give us your toughest, and we'll do the same. And I think when a game comes down to that, this West Virginia team has a real good chance. I don't know if you've watched the video about this team being born in Stillwater in 2022, but that is when this team really came together. The identity, the toughness, the grit, finding a way to win, all of that came together when the team had no bowl game to play for. And it started paying off last year. It's going to pay off this year. Tough schedule. That's okay. It's a tough team. I really like everything about this team. Hey, Timothy Green, good to see you. I heard you. Yeah. Well, I mean, let's see, past 3 weeks I haven't done a live show. Mountaineer Paul did mention you were having some problems. Well, hey, I can't diagnose it, but I do wish you luck. I would say also check nutritional aspects. B vitamins especially can play havoc with things. With this heat, I don't know if they get copies of the blood work they've done on you. And I'm serious about that. Get your own copies and look at them, because doctors are in a hurry. They will miss things. They don't give some things the importance they should. Even something as basic as low potassium can cause massive problems. I came within about 2 hours of getting unnecessary heart surgery because of low potassium. Now, 7 years later, I got necessary heart surgery. But boy, that doctor was awfully anxious to put me under the knife. So, yeah, check out the neurology, but check nutritional aspects as well. Yeah. Now, Bob, since you asked, I appreciate that. he keeps doing better in lots of ways. Each week he gets a little bit better, but he still has to pee and he has to poop. I'm looking down here because he's in a, well, we've got 3 cages interconnected for him right now. We took the catheter out this morning, so we are hoping that he will pee before tomorrow afternoon on his own, but we don't know. And boy, we are racking up. Now, our vet bill is not as high likely as your hospital bill, but hopefully you do have good insurance. I think you said you were in mining. They typically have had good health insurance, so I'm hopeful there. Uh, I don't know. I think the Kegler show Thursday is when they announced them last year. So that's coming up tomorrow evening. I have to remember that. I've had my question waiting since spring camp. I got to set my alarm so I remember to be ready for the show. But yeah, I think if you catch the show tomorrow evening, you will hear the announcement for the uniforms. It won't be the black uniforms. Oh boy, it had better not be the black uniforms. Uh, let's see here. I almost missed this one. Haven't paid any attention to it. Only people say they expect them to have a really good running game. Might be between West Virginia and UCF for who's the best running game this year. I mean, UCF has a chance to finish a close second, but last year, I mean, they had injury problems. It wasn't really a representative year. They've got a good coach. They brought in some talented transfers to go with the talent they already had. They're going to be a good team. Uh, on any given week, my prediction will be that West Virginia will win. I firmly believe they have the ability to win every game this year. I expect them to lose one or two along the way, just on the crap happens basis. But on any given week, I expect West Virginia to win. And I think they will win big in a lot of the games, or at least win strong, where it's never really in serious doubt. Maybe some pressure here and there, but you feel confident that they're going to win, which we didn't have some last year. And a couple of games when we were confident they were going to win, they did have a major screw up. We had 2 particular players last year who became unusually good at screwing up, and that did cost us 2 games. They're no longer with us, and I feel confident that their replacements are significantly better in every way. Uh, but and I'll admit, I really don't study the opponents. Some of the people, they'll go week to week, they'll study the opponent and give you some insight on them, but that ends up creating the same things we complain about when people talk about West Virginia. You get very superficial results, and you miss a lot. If you really want to understand the team, you have to spend a week or more, a month. You have to spend time on their discussion boards. You have to watch the press conferences, and you're still not going to really understand the team the way you can if you follow them year to year to year. So I don't, I mean, I can tell you the name of Penn State's head coach and their starting quarterback. I can tell you their backup quarterback is more of a runner. Their defensive ends are quick off the ball. That's pretty much all I know about it. I focus on West Virginia, what they can do, um, and then I let the coaches worry about figuring out what the opponent is going to do. uh, yeah. Now, of course, West Virginia is not different than that. A, yeah, a lot of teams. Well, of course, that's why we call them upsets. You know, it works both ways. It's why we play the game. It's why we well. How about it's why guys like me watch the game. I mean, if West Virginia won every game for 10 years, I probably would quit watching. Might not be around to do any watching by 10 years. But yeah, we love to get the upset, of course. That's better than being upset. So, yeah, of course, like to see Gallagher. I'd like to see Gallagher get a downfield pass. I'd like to see Gallagher get a 20-yard run. I mean, those are things he hasn't yet done that would give us that extra signal that he has taken the step we need. I also would like to see Jaheim White break a touchdown run of 30 yards or more instead of getting tackled at the 5 or 10-yard line. And he'd like that too. Um, I mean, there's a lot of firsts we want. I mean, we've got a lot of young players. We want we want to see all of those signs that say yes. The things we've been hearing about players being better is true. I believe it, but we want to see it. So, yeah, Gallagher's first touchdown, I think that would get more than one couch hot. Uh, Okay, I'm going to put this up on the screen here for a moment if I can find it. Yeah. Like I say, I'm not technically supposed to do things like this when I don't have the sufficient subscribers. Oh, and I did forget, of course, please, whether you're watching this live or later, please make comments, subscribe, share. Sharing helps a whole heck of a lot. Click the notification bell, click the thumbs up, and tell your friends. I expect many of you have more than one. Some of you may not. I don't know you personally. But, okay, let me go. I thought I'd seen all the comments. I hadn't scrolled down. Okay. Oh. Defense, most of the people aren't talking about the defense. When they do, they're talking about the problems the defense had. That's what they were doing in spring. It's what they've done all summer. It's what they're doing now. Now, it was a comment. It was not one of the actual media people, but one of the shows I was watching. Somebody said that Penn State would be going over the middle because that was a weakness in the defense last year. And once again, they didn't say, well, yeah, why was it a weakness? What has happened to fix it? And it was a weakness because the linebackers weren't good in coverage, particularly after Lathan went down. And they fixed it by getting Lathan back, getting Trotter back, Cutter a year of experience and a determination to be better, and bringing in Carico. But that middle, they go over the middle, and Trotter gets a pick. I mean, not every time, But that middle is not going to be the free zone that it was way too often last year. Um, we've got a couple of safeties who are going to be on the ball over the middle. Tarnu is playing safety, and he has an affinity for the ball. Uh, it's still a little unclear about Joseph, exactly what position he's going to play. Uh, but Joseph, Wilson, and Tarnu will be back there a lot. Burks will either be up at spear or back at one of the safeties or moving all around. And Wilson is going to be better in coverage this year as well. So you've got linebackers who know how to get in the lanes. They will drop to the proper depth when they need to drop. They will hit their marks. And I mean, Trotter is a football player and has instinct and IQ. So he knows how to read quarterbacks. He knows how to hide. He knows how to break on the ball. We're going to see teams are going to try going over the middle because it worked, and West Virginia will have to prove it doesn't. But there's going to be a lot of tipped balls and some interceptions over the middle. I'm kind of looking forward to teams trying to do all of the things that worked last year, because most, or maybe all of the weaknesses on the team last year are going to be strengths this year. Hadn't thought about it in those terms, but it's going to be kind of fun to watch as teams try to find a weakness. First, they'll look for the old weaknesses, then they'll look for new ones. I'm not sure they're going to find a weakness. They may find spots that aren't as strong as others. And, I mean, West Virginia will give up big plays. Every team, you try to give up as few as possible, but you give up big plays. You give up a long drive here and there. But I think these things are going to be few against West Virginia. West Virginia had a couple particularly good defenses under Jeff Castile. I mean, we were among the national best a couple of times. And I can see this team being as good as those, maybe better. I said that we will have one of the top 3 defenses in the Big 12, and we may have, can't remember who said it. Somebody was predicting a top 10 defense for West Virginia this year. And I think they could be right. Top 10 nationally defense. We have the talent. We have to avoid some of the injuries we've been getting. Have to contain the quarterback. Last year, great at pressure, led the league in sacks, but there were games where just complete failure to contain the quarterback. Let me check these comments again. Well, Jupiter Mojo, that's the thing. Yeah. Will the defense be the standout over the offense? First couple of games. Well, last year that was true, partly because we had Lathan in there. But the offense had so much new going on. And, I mean, Green still trying to find his feet. He wasn't quite ready. Things he could do, things he couldn't do. And also coaches sorting out what he could or couldn't do and eventually deciding, well, If he's not that good at the short pass, let's stop throwing short passes. Um, and we get some people who have said that he doesn't throw over the middle because he's not tall enough. Some have said he can't read defenses. Um, Now, actually, if you look at some of the PFF, when he threw deep over the middle, it was one of his best spots. Deep and right. Left side is his weakness. Um, but that wasn't why he didn't throw over the middle that much. I mean, it was largely he's not good enough at short passes. Problem has been identified, cause has been identified, causes, and cure has been identified. And if you look at Green's first couple of years, his progress was slow, week to week, and so even second season, first to second season, he did not seem to learn. I was getting concerned, but last year and 2022, he learned a lot during the season, enough to be good enough to get by those last few games. He progressed extensively, especially decision making, from 2022 to 2023. And I expect even more distinctive progress this year. The learning problem those first 2 years was not his ability to learn, it was lack of foundation. There were too many things he had never had to learn in high school. And I mean, that was the question. Why is he not learning? Is it because he is working from behind or because he doesn't learn quickly enough? Well, thank goodness it turned out it was just because he was behind, because once he built that foundation, the football IQ, the competitiveness, it all kicked in and he learns quickly now. So I expect that short passing problem is not going to be a problem this year. And again, it was a question of why. You figure out why, you resolve why, and we're going to see it. Of course, that'll be one of the questions, for Penn State. Did he succeed at the short game? Yeah. I say he will. It hasn't happened yet. But I think offense and defense may start out both very good. Game to game, which is going to be better, may vary. But I think the team will get off to a much faster start in all three aspects of the game compared to last year. We're not going to have those sluggish, you know, 4-yard gain, run it up the gut over and over kind of games. We're not going to be winning 13-9 or whatever some of them were. We're going to be putting up points, even starting with Penn State. People talk about how good Penn State's defense is, how good it was last year. But if you watch the game, West Virginia had opportunities against that defense. They got receivers open time and time again. Green missed a lot of them. But of course, we had some drops. But the opportunities were there. And I think they'll be there again this year. And I think Green and the rest of the team will take advantage. Going to have to break some long passes and some long runs. Basically, we were getting runs of 7 to 9 yards a lot last year. Did not break anything. Green had a scramble for 15. That was the longest run. Going to have to break some. But I think they will. Yeah, I mean, Eric, I think you may be right. We could win it strongly. Uh, a lot, and no matter what we do, there will be some people. Well, some people won't get their trust to climb card stamped because they don't have one. And if West Virginia wins, the immediate claim is going to be Penn State wasn't as good as people thought they were. Same thing. Oh, gee, West Virginia's schedule last year wasn't as strong as we expected, so 9 wins don't count. And, and they'll say the same thing this year if we win another 8, 9, 10 or more games. Some people don't want to trust, don't want to believe. They don't want Neil Brown's team to succeed, either because they don't like Brown or because they don't want to admit being wrong. But uh, it would add an extra spice to winning this game to make those people make some of them fess up and make some of them shut up. Yeah, I like that progression. Lose big, lose close, win big. Um, I mean, there are a number of reasons why it took this long. Uh, and of course, some of it is learning to win close when you're on that razor edge, and it's learning how to lose or learning how to win. We've learned to win, even having made some mistakes last year that cost games. Uh, Stephen, I do have the question. Are you here just for trash talking? If you want to have a conversation, great. If you want to talk about, you know, football, what works, what doesn't, great. But if you don't want to actually have a discussion, uh, no point being here. I need viewers, I need subscribers, but I don't need trash talkers. So that's up to you. Okay, so news for the South Florida people. Snuggery is where they tailgate, uh, which kind of reminds me of a play I was in college. I don't remember enough of the lines to force you to endure the pain of listening to me quote them. So you are in luck in that respect. Yeah, I have a feeling that's what he does. He just likes to go around. Haters hate and trollers troll. So yeah, let's build a bridge for him to live under or something. Maybe he'll go there. Um, Now, I mentioned defensive line earlier. 749. Okay. Um, the starting six for the defensive line, and I mean, we have some pretty good guesses who's starting. They didn't release a depth chart. They might or might not before the game. A lot of rotation. The ones and twos will probably play pretty close to the same amount. TJ Jackson will probably be moving from side to side, so he will rack up a fair number of plays. But I want to see Sean Martin at full strength. We did not, we have not seen that. Earlier, he was young, hadn't built up strength yet or technique. Last year, he had whatever the health issue was, and still put pressure on the quarterback, consistently. And we were wondering why he couldn't finish, and yeah, well, it turned out there was a reason. So, what is Sean Martin like when he's playing his last season and he's healthy? I'm looking forward to that. I have a feeling the Penn State players are not going to look forward to it as much as I am. I want to see TJ Jackson to see if he's got that speed. We've heard about it. He's kind of, it's like we traded for, between him and Durajaye. I think we won on that trade, but it's going to be good to see it. I want to see Asani Redwood. Now, good news is most of the guys who were injured are back. There's Corey McIntyre likely out for the season. Favreau and Hamilton medical retirements. Favreau announced his officially today. But Spells ready. Joseph was dinged up for a while. He's ready. Green was in a red jersey, but that was more a matter of just extra protection. He's ready. As far as I know, all of the guys who were temporarily out will be back. And of course, with Spells, there was a while it looked like it might not be until a few games into the season. He's been practicing full. We haven't had guys, in special jerseys that much. So, in that regard, this is probably, and I hate to say it out loud, it's probably the best position we've been in to start the season in terms of injuries in quite a few years. I hope we can still say that at the end of the season, but that was the last update we had. Now, we've got hard practices coming up Monday and Tuesday, so hopefully we don't lose anybody then. But we're in good shape in that regard, so we've got the depth. The defensive backs, of course, we've got Burks and Wilson back. And of guys who played last year, that's pretty much it. We have Tagaloa Nelson and Jackson. And Jackson, who should be ready to play this season, but they didn't play last year. So it is going to be, is Hollis the real deal? I think so. Crandall might play, might be limited just, because somebody else starting ahead of him. Garnes, we should be playing press coverage ourselves this year. Should be seeing more man, should be seeing tight coverage. And Beanie Bishop set a standard last year that these guys really want to live up to. They want to get those passes defended stats. And if they catch the interceptions that Bishop dropped, now think about this. If we get the interceptions that Bishop had, plus the ones he should have had, that is in itself, that would change the one lost column. Now figure we have, two corners and one or two safeties who are ball hawking types. I see a lot of turnovers in our future coming to us, hopefully not going away from us. Now also, I wanted to include this in one of my earlier videos and forgot. When they were showing clips from practice, there was a pass where Cole Taylor had to reach way out with his right arm and make a one-handed catch. It was beautiful. And he couldn't have done it last year because he played a lot of last season with a brace on his shoulder. He could not do that full extension. Still had the season that he had. So now we've also got Cole Taylor, healthy, stronger, smarter. It's kind of getting scary, really. Oh, let me check. I get to talking, I forget to check the comments here. Yeah, Don, I am. Believe me, I am aware of that. I taught college. Um, there are actually very few students you can't teach or reach if you create the right atmosphere. There are a few. However, administrators are a different story. They say you can't teach stupid. I would say it's pretty dang hard to teach administrators, except for there was one man named John Hollow. If all administrators were like him, our education system would be amazing. And then he up and well, had a 3-year term as the head of the department I was in. That ended, and my career went in the toilet. I'd probably still be teaching at Ohio University if he was still the head of the department there. Let's see here. Yeah, maybe I should just leave it to you guys to handle him. Now, I have not heard anything. I have not been following. Uh, I imagine, you know, that is something I don't like to think about. He's he's been around quite a while. Um, he'll be around forever, just not physically. Uh, if you hear a noise in the background, that is Bob asking for attention. I'm sorry, Bob. I'll be with you shortly. Yeah, we got to test your glucose pretty soon. Yeah, getting Schmidt. I mean, if Schmidt is not on McAfee's show, it will be a surprise. But of course, he may have commitments. Such things do happen. But it would certainly seem appropriate in so many ways for him to be there. Uh, yeah, yeah, guys. Which episode was that? Uh, I I missed the last one or two, I think. Uh, I'll have to go watch that and try to keep track. I do plan to do. Last year, I did a series. It was called Sunday Questions, uh, where I would, ask the questions that I think I would ask on Sunday if I hadn't seen the game. It's just kind of a way of changing my perspective. I found that it makes me see things a little bit differently. Then after the game, it is, Sunday answers. So I do plan to do that series. So Thursday or Friday, I will try to get the Sunday questions up. I do intend to do a post game show here on this channel, not on another channel, as soon after the show as I can. So I hope you'll drop in for that. We will have competition, but what the heck? I'm going to go for it and just do as much as I can. Okay, yeah, I'll have to go back and watch that, see, and then we'll all watch as anything develops. I doubt that they can get everybody here at this time of year. Maybe we'll be able to get somebody on, broadcast from their location. Uh, I mean, obviously, you know, Pat White, Geno Smith are quite busy at the moment, but maybe they can find a camera someplace. It's not that difficult these days. Um, so, hey, we got 23 people watching. It's an hour in. Wow, I'm impressed. Thank you. Yeah, that's definitely higher than my usual number. I evidently did something right. I'll have to try to figure out what it was so I can avoid doing it again next time. Uh, do you have questions, comments about the game? Uh, Things I haven't covered. I've just kind of rambled here in between comments. You guys have been making enough comments to keep me busy, and I really appreciate that. I'm going to put a couple of things back up here. I want to bring this one back up again. Read this story. I mean, read it. It is just a fascinating story about Jaheim White. I think there were a couple of other things in the press conferences this fall. You've probably already heard this one, but Eddie V was very disturbed by Penn State's, you know, touchdown with 6 seconds in the game last year, particularly because of the celebration by one of their offensive linemen. And he will be going up against that offensive lineman in this game. I want to see how that plays out. Vesperinen he was always interesting. He has really developed. He's a lot more comfortable now in the press conferences. I mean, if you get a chance, watch him. I'm going to miss him, but it will be fun to see how much that affects his game. Now, of course, you don't want an overreaction because that leads to mistakes. But if it gives him a little extra edge, and word is, he has continued to improve this year, and that's going to make him really good. He's now thinking in terms of maybe he can get to the NFL. I'm thinking in terms of maybe he can get to the NFL. He's got the dedication. He's got a lot. Also loved that, he talked about the history of the program. He's committed to this program. He is a Mountaineer. He doesn't just wear the uniform. And I mean, I love him for that. Those are the players that we really want here. He was talking about, things that had happened in the past and, referring to our program and all of that, not just the program. Jaquay Hubbard, one thing I noticed, he's always been very likable, very outgoing, but there was an additional maturity to him in this press conference that I think bodes well. There wasn't any loss of energy, but I think he may have a type of solidity and consistency that you need as an offensive lineman that he didn't really have before. I mean, he's worked hard. He's had a long way to go, but I can see him really doing well, taking that extra step that we've been hoping for. And I'm looking off to the side here because Bob has just walked into the litter pan and is either trying to poop or trying to pee, which is a very significant moment in our household because you know, his ability to pee will determine uh, whether or not he lives. So if I find pee or poop or both in the litter pan after this, I'm going to be very happy. All right. Let me go back here. Oh, I was actually going to repost uh, my begging post. That's what it is. Hey, folks, I'm begging for help. Yeah, we need all we can get. Bob's vet bill is somewhere over $3,600 at the moment, and that doesn't count today's visit or the visit for next week. All of those. That's first offensive play. I mean, anybody want to take a guess at this? I mean, I part of me says, it's C.J. Donaldson off tackle, just a nice, safe sort of play. And whether it's Donaldson or White as the starting back, I don't know. Whether they'll get some two-back sets in, I don't know. They've wanted to do that. But it also could be a nice play where, I mean, something similar to the Mayo Bowl, where you do a couple of things. It's a fairly safe sort of play, but if the defense breaks, you go big, and you have an outlet. Now, of course, with Green, there's always the safety valve that is Garrett Green running, um, but yeah, will they want to take a chance with a pass on the first play? Should they? Now, of course, I can sit here. It's safe for me to say, hey, just send everybody deep and go for it. But I don't know what they're going to do. Now, of course, Brown tends to script the first set of plays. So, and he and Scott and Matt Moore, I mean, all of the offensive coaches and maybe some of the defensive coaches have been, talking a lot, trying to figure out what can they do with Penn State that will throw them off. We've got the experience this year to take more chances. We didn't have, especially the first game last year, taking chances wasn't a good idea because the players weren't experienced enough. Uh, this year, if you throw on the first play, you can still figure Green is going to make a good decision, and that's important. Now, they may throw in the first play, it's an interception return for a touchdown. Okay, then you just have to refocus and come back from that. If we get something like last year, where Penn State scores on their third or fourth offensive play, I'm not going to start worrying. This team, somebody was saying on their show that West Virginia wasn't a team that could come back because they were looking at the first four games from last season because that's the only times where the offense wasn't in a position to break big plays. This offense and this defense can come back if they have to. Of course, it's tougher against Penn State. Everything's going to be tougher against Penn State. But, come to think of it, I don't really care what play they run on the first play of the game. I just want to see it. Dang it. We've been waiting. We've been talking. I want to see that first play. Man, oh, almost wish I hadn't asked that question. It seemed like such a simple question. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what that one word is supposed to be. I don't really fit in there, especially when we're talking about speed. I was pretty fast back in 1980, but not before or since. But yeah, they pushed for speed. They got the speed on defense, um, and I mean really at every level. We have defensive linemen who are fast for defensive linemen. Uh, Corners and safeties. I mean, we're talking about corners who can run with guys who have 4.2 and 4.3 speed. Uh, so, but of course, we haven't seen it. I got to admit that I think we will see it. I think we will see the effect. And they talked about, we have guys who have the speed to overcome mistakes. Although, also, Anthony Wilson is dependent on technique because he doesn't have the size to overcome a mistake. He has the will, he has the strength, but nothing can change the fact that he is shorter than a lot of the guys he has to cover. So he's dependent on technique. But man, we do have both sides of the ball. And the thing is, this, if you count the entire offense and defense, this may be one of the fastest, if not the fastest, overall team West Virginia has had, including the Pat White, Steve Slayton, Darius Renaud days. But we are not giving up size. I mean, okay, some of our receivers aren't that big. That's true of every team. But our defensive size is better than ever. The combination of size and speed may be the best we've ever had. Now, application, you gotta do it. Having the speed and making good use of it are not the same thing. But I think we will make good use of it. We've got guys who have been there, not necessarily at West Virginia, but we've got guys who've played against Penn State. So, oh man, I keep looking forward to it more and more. Yeah, it's pretty. I mentioned that as a possibility. I don't think it'll be the same play, but maybe the same idea. Uh, yeah. Now, Eric, I talked about this in a video. I don't think they will fully load the box. We're not going to see a complete sellout against the run. I think we did enough at the end of last year to tell teams ain't going to work. I do think they will have an extra player or two in the box. I think they may move forward a little. And that may determine the first play call. I mean, it may be an RPO and, hey, they've got these guys up and we go to the pass. Uh, Now, of course, they showed a lot. I mean, the defense last year trying to, they'd have guys up, drop back. They'd be back. They'd, come on, a run blitz. And of course, that's part of the game, trying to cover what you're doing. So I think they will try to conceal whether or not they are stacking the box. Uh, but if they stack the box, I mean, I don't care what they do. Stack the box, play man, play zone, play press. I think we have the ability to adapt to what they do. We can run the ball. We can run it hard. We can run it fast. I expect Green to be able to throw short. We know he can throw long. So now, Brian, I want you to know that there is no limit to the number of times you are allowed to say that. I have a very large ego, but I also have a serious insecurity issue. So I will not I will not complain. Um, yeah, that's now of course both teams. I mean, turnovers were a rare thing last year, and I think both teams will protect the ball well this year. But I do think our defense is going to have the ability to create turnovers. Um, and again, that goes back to the speed. Uh, be able to get there, to tip balls, to make a break and get in front of the receiver. I think we have more players this year who have that particular ability. It's There is a psychology and actually a science to being able to make that break to cut in front of a receiver. It's partly about daring. It also takes an innate understanding of angles. Goes back to what Hubbard said: angles, angles beat speed. And if you have the angle and the speed, but I think we have guys this year who have that special ability to know what angle to take and when. Bishop had it. I mean, Bishop was very good at moving when the ball was in the air to get into position. And I think we will have more than one. Ruffin actually was good at it at times, but I think he was playing safer last year just due to the circumstances. Of course, he also dropped a critical interception he could have had. Uh, that's, uh, I will have to look that up. I know a number of Twitty songs going all the way back to It's Only Make Believe and Don't Call Him a Cowboy Until You've Seen Him Ride, but I am not sure about that one. Um, but yeah, I think we may have to wait until after the game to make it popular again, but I'll try to make a point of looking that up and having the link ready uh, just in case for the post game show. um, Randy Travis, it was Randy Travis. I oh yeah, I'm hearing it in my head, hearing that line, and it sounds like Travis's voice. Um, Although, I mean, particularly with country music, we could probably put together quite a long playlist for that type of attitude. Now, Penn State fans could also probably put together quite a playlist if they win. I don't want to contemplate that, but I have to admit to the possibility. Uh, okay, well, I tell you what, guys, it is 8:19 in my time. It's 9:19 for many of you, and if we have our viewer from Thousand Oaks, oh, it is what 6:19 for him. He may not get here until the rebroadcast. But hey, been here for almost an hour and 20 minutes. We still got 19 people watching. Man, I can't hardly believe that. Um, I just want to sit here and look at that number on the screen. And of course, if I do, you're all going to leave because it's no fun to watch me staring at the screen. Uh, okay. Well, guys, if another question pops up here just at the last minute, I'll answer it. But I'm going to be saying thanks for watching. Please share, please subscribe. Please tell your friends and tell your friends to tell their friends, because I know your friends have friends who aren't your friends. Did you get that? I want you to appreciate that I made that up and said it right there on the spot. I am impressed. I am also in that weird state when you're very tired and just don't care much anymore. You can do a lot of things when you're not thinking too much. Make comments if you're watching this on the repeat, and click the thumbs up, click the notification bell. Help me get, we crossed 400 subscribers, I think last week. Leaves us 600 to go. So we got to get a move on, folks. But I also have to get a move on. I just have to, gotta, like I say, medicate cats. I got to go look in that litter pan and find out what Bob did. Be honest, we're just happy that he can walk to the litter pan, because he does have a problem with one of his legs. Seems to be related to nerve issue that might be related to arthritis or bone spur. Here I was just so impressed with my ability to talk when I'm tired. But I'm going to go take care of Bob, take care of the cats. I do appreciate everybody who dropped in. Watch for videos coming up later this week and the post-game show after hopefully every game this season. All righty, folks. See you later. Before I say something that's really particularly foolish, and Lord knows I need a shower. Whew, I may not be able to sleep with myself tonight if I don't take a shower. So long. I'm going to go listen to Randy Travis and Conway Twitty while I medicate cats.